don't know how many people really write sex all that well, so, you know.
I've read some great sex.
Welcome to the Rewatchers on the pod. This week we are so excited to explore the London of 101 Dalmatians, the live-action version from 1996. I'm here, your host, Mitchell Marshall, along with...
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler Harris.
Justin Hammer.
Tyler McKinley.
All right, so we watched this movie because of our journey through the IMDb connections of the world brought us here because of what category again, Tyler, who we're blaming for watching this movie?
Thanks.
Some guy who had a really generic name was thanked in this movie as well as Interstellar. What did we watch last year?
Truman Show.
Truman Show. Damn, I was not close at all. Oh, and so we thank him. He is in the thanks also of our credits today. But if you haven't seen 101 Dalmatians or this version, don't worry, I did a Wikipedia deep dive on the journey of this story. I'm going to give you a little fill-in real quick. Pongo is a mourning dog. A Siberian tiger is dead. Jeff Daniels, a poor freelance video game designer. Cruella de Vil wears Prada, is switching from stripes to spots, and wants to wear a dog. Sorry, PETA. Our two protagonist Dalmatians find love at first sight when they spot one another. Dumb and Dumber falls into a lake and grabs the wrong dog during an abusive meet-cute. The dogs couldn't bear to be apart, so the humans have to get married. I don't remember this. Their loins ignite a real fire. Mr. Weasley and Dr. House bring Cruella de Vil her Siberian tiger skin. The family bitch is pregnant, and so is Anita. Cruella makes a tactless house call. She doesn't like Nintendo. 15 pups in the first litter. That's why they call him Potent Pongo. Cruella wants to buy them all, but they'd rather keep all 15 and give them very literal names. The cronies steal the puppies. London's Mammal Communications Amber Alert goes to work. One special pup follows the scent all the way to the 15 doggies' dilapidated attic of the borough, where they are there to be skinned. They find a way out, but the raccoon getaway drivers are run off. Lucky is left behind napping, but he has evasive maneuvers. The Popo find Cruella's Siberian tiger skin and go to arrest her. The puppies found the Amber Alert barn, and in a sign of utter starvation, they drink cow's milk from the teat. A horse kicks Glenn close and she just starts stabbing at puppies before future bacon lands on her face and raccoons dump her in molasses. Horace Grant gets electrocuted in the balls and arrested. Cruella smacks talk animals about becoming meat and ends up in a mud pit when the paddy wagon arrives for her. Lucky arrives at the safe house a little late and gets a glorious entrance. The happy couple adopts all 101 Dalmatians, and Jeff Daniels finally sells a video game with Cruella as the villain. That's what happened.
Sure did.
I used bitch in proper context for the first time in my life.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
think.
So, this movie came out in 1996. It made a crap ton of money.
Sure.
Which makes it odd that they waited 5 years to do the sequel, which only Glenn Close came back for. It made like $325 million or something, which is rather impressive.
Yeah. Were there other, I know, Disney is going through, this live-action renaissance thing where they're remaking everything. Was that also happening back then, or was this,
Not that I remember. I think this was kind of a one-off.
Interesting.
Man, I don't know if I've seen this movie since it was in theaters. I forgot that it was Jeff Daniels. I couldn't remember if the dogs talked in this one or not, which would have been tough, but I wouldn't have surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, that was huge around that time. You had that Cats versus Dogs movie.
Dr. Dolittle.
Oh my gosh.
And then same with babies. There was the Baby Geniuses movies where it's things that don't talking. People just ate that shit up.
I just remember there are so many adults getting hit in the balls jokes in Baby Geniuses. So many.
That's actually something I thought about while watching this. Is that was also a huge type of it was a weird sort of you know how the Coen brothers treat their protagonists like shit. The 90s treated their antagonists like punishment porn. It was they just were okay, we need to get shit on them at some point. Some point, the bad guy's getting covered in shit. They're getting hit in the balls. The most humiliating, painful stuff is happening to them. Also, Jeff Hughes produced this movie.
Yeah.
Or,
And-
yeah.
John Hughes,
John
not
Hughes,
Jeff. Wow,
yeah.
Jeff Daniels, John Hughes. Yeah. And his home. I saw his hand. And
Oh, the Home Alone-ness of what's happening to the two cronies is so. I'm trying to wonder if as a kid, did I find the slapstick, the bad guys getting hurt in ridiculous ways? Was I dying laughing at that?
I mean, I was laughing today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of them were, but some of it must have been funny.
Yeah.
But this time it just didn't. It just wasn't.
Did your kids find it funny? I can't.
They
tell if your
found
kids...
it very funny.
Okay. That makes sense.
Fair enough. Man, are we done? So are we done?
Look, you guys, this movie was so understated and subtle, and I just didn't see. I mean, did you guys see the villain turn coming? I did
No.
not. Like, I would have had no idea that Cruella de Vil was the bad guy until she had those guys kidnap the puppies. Like, I didn't see it coming.
You just thought she genuinely just wanted to adopt those puppies.
She
Buy them.
The way she carried herself did not speak villain to me in any way.
She looks like every crazy dog lady I know.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That just
I thought
accumulates.
that's what we were
57
going
dogs.
for.
Yeah. I will say, like, on that note, man, exactly what you said. Just like a fucking sledgehammer of Cruella de Vil hits the screen. But honestly, I don't think it's Glenn Close's fault. I think her commitment to that performance is admirable. Like,
Fantastic.
yeah.
She was nominated for a Golden Globe.
This movie
Was
is
she really?
ridiculous,
Yeah.
and
Cool, good.
I loved how ridiculous and over the
Sure.
top it was.
Like her costuming, it's incredible. And she goes for it.
Yeah.
I don't know how she thought she was going to chase down dogs in a giant fur coat and heels, but yeah, her villainy worked. And she's a producer, so they are doing a prequel called Cruella, which is Emma Stone as Cruella de Vil. And I'm wondering, this movie, like, the way she's, like, overtly wanting to abuse animals, I'm like, we can't even talk like that now.
Well, like, is this Cruella thing gonna be like the Maleficent thing where you're like, she did some bad things, but it was justifiable in some
I feel
way?
like maybe a dog, like, killed her parents. Is that the only...
She was at the opera with her parents, walked into an alleyway, the dog shot her parents, the pearls went everywhere.
From then on, she knew I love fur from mammals that I can kill.
But yeah, I mean, I genuinely enjoy the absolute lunacy that is Glenn Close in this movie. I think she is wonderful.
I liked the goons too. Like, I liked this movie as a kid, so I'm sure there's a nostalgia factor. But I just like how over the top it was.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, if you're gonna like something about this movie, that's the thing that it like nails 100%. Like the commitment and just that, like the level of that it brings is great. Yeah, for sure.
So 101 Dalmatians was originally like I think it was like more of a kid's novel in like 56, and Walt Disney himself really liked it. So they did the original one is from 1961, and I think it holds up really well. It was actually huge for the Walt Disney Company. It cost like $13 million to make, and in that money, in 1960s money, it made $300 million. After apparently Sleeping Beauty was kind of a flop theatrically, which I had no idea, but this was really good for it. Then they did the 2 live action ones. Then there's been one revival in one series in 97, 98. That's when every single movie was getting a TV. Remember Men in Black had one, The Mummy, Jackie Chan. They were just like, we're going to make an animated series out of everything.
Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. And then there was a direct-to-video sequel to called Patch's London Adventure. And there was a video game based on this, and it better have echoed the video game that we saw him. So in the original, he's a music composer. So in 1995, when they made this, they're like, you know what's going to really bring this up to current times? He designs video games.
Oh man,
This like boasts like one of the worst. Like as far as like, I mean, they do this in movies all the time. Even in like movies about where it's all about video games. Like I don't know if anyone saw Grandma's Boy. Don't see Grandma's Boy.
I'm surprised you did. It rings a bell, but I'm so disappointed in
It's
you.
awful. But man, even the video game they're designing that, like you're making that movie for stoners who play video games, and you did not do your research at all, apparently. But yeah, man.
To be fair, they do show him working on a computer where he is writing some form of code, which is kind of interesting. But then it's just like animated.
Yeah, I love the computer that he's
On
using. There's
rails
no
stuff.
way that computer
Yeah,
could
exactly.
live render what has on that screen at that moment. I'm like, holy
Wait
shit.
for it. I just coded this entire animation by hand.
And he also seems to like work for a company, and he's like, I mean, very ahead of the time where he's working from home. And oh man, the guru kid who's like, he knows every successful video game before it happens. But I mean, that's a point I wanted to like make earlier. Is like with the whole like torturing the villains of this time era. Like that kid literally points that out at the beginning of the thing. He's like, the villain, it's all about just what do you say? A desire to annihilate.
Yeah,
It's like
It's not enough to win. Yeah.
so. Yeah, I don't know. It was
Listen to this
Fantastic.
director's credits as director. Critters, which I assume is like an 80s horror film. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
oh,
Same director.
okay.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. The original Mighty Ducks. The Three Musketeers, which I think it's the one we know from 1993. Mr. Holland's Opus.
Okay.
Randomly, my brother-in-law's favorite movie. Holy Man, Black Sabbath Time Machine music video. Man
Their
of the
best
House.
music video by far.
And Into the Blue 2, The Reef.
Into the Blue 2, haven't
What a
seen it. I
very-
was too stuck on Into the Blue 1.
holy shit! that
Beautifully
is-
random.
Yeah.
all over the place.
And now he directs a lot of TV for really successful, bad serialized CBS dramas.
Good for him.
Yeah, like Rush Hour and Hawaii Five-0. Yeah, and MacGyver.
Got more money
Rush,
than I do. I'm
hold
sure.
on.
Wait, there's a MacGyver still?
Yeah, MacGyver's on like its 5th season on CBS as just like a knockoff of every other show that's ever happened. Same with Rush Hour. Only went for like 2 seasons.
Okay.
I remember I watched like the first 6. I tried it, and I was like, wow, you couldn't do anything more than put an Asian and a black guy together and see like. That's all they took from the movie.
That
It
seems
was
like
so
a
bad.
Yeah, it seems like a bad thing to try.
Anyway, so it's what a curious film.
Yeah.
When did Dumb and Dumber come out?
Oh, I don't know. 96, 7 around there?
Let's see. It was 94. So this is 2 years after. This is like Jeff Daniels was cashing his checks.
Let's talk about Jeff Daniels, because Jeff Daniels, I feel like, is one of those like actors who likes to play extremes. Like he's either in something that's fucking awesome or real shit. I'll say it. Dumb and Dumber is shit. I think we've probably talked about
agree.
this on the podcast. Does anyone
I'm
like?
glad that you have that same opinion because
Yeah.
I also feel that way.
Well, and I think the comment thread is we came to it late, right? Like you
Yeah.
didn't see
Yeah.
it when you were.
I think if
7
you
or
saw
8,
it when you
like,
were younger,
yeah.
now that funny stuff can still be funny. And you know it's
Yeah.
dumb, but it's funny to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have my own things like that. But I can't think of them because I legitimately think they're great. So it's like impossible to try. But I mean, just looking at Jeff Daniels' career, like stuff like Purple Rose of Cairo that he did with Woody Allen, like, and he's like a pretty prolific theater actor.
Oh, yeah.
He owned a theater that I lived like a block away from on my mission, in Michigan. That's called the Purple Rose. Anyways, but yeah, for sure, he's like one of those actors that I'm like, he could do it all. He could do really good and really bad, like projects.
Good for him. I love The Newsroom.
Yeah, he's good in the newsroom. Yeah.
It's one jam. I'm trying to see if there's anything else interesting to say about this movie.
Hugh Laurie's great.
Hugh Laurie and Mr. Weasley.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is only 4 years
one
before
knows
Harry Potter came out. I'm like, oh, it feels like a whole different past.
Yeah.
42% on Rotten Tomatoes. PETA complained because after this, they said the animals were treated well, but a ton of families adopted Dalmatians or bought Dalmatians after this, but they didn't know what they were getting into. Their kids were just so excited about the movie, and so a lot ended up getting given back to pounds and euthanized and that sort of thing.
Does PETA just want no animals to be depicted ever? Is that the goal?
I guess.
CGI is like their best friend.
I got the
There's
really
a
bad
lot of that in
CGI
this movie,
shot
too.
when the dog is there's some point it's sliding down like a tube of some sort. I was like, it looked so bad. And when they had a lot at once, you could kind of tell it was CGI.
I feel like the wider shots, you could like start to pick out like that's the same dog as that dog and that dog and that dog. Like you just see it kind of like.
There were other
Okay,
shots
like,
where it's
whatever.
like clearly this is a real dog, and it had some exact training. Like when they nod to each other during the wedding, it's like they're looking at some trainer that's like he does some hand motion where they know to nod.
Yeah.
And Jim Henson also did some puppet work for some of the animal actions in this, which is kind
The
of cool.
raccoons.
Yeah.
in the truck, probably.
There's the woodpecker. Is
Yeah.
an animatronic.
Yeah, it is.
Shaggy dog that throws the sack over its shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a moment.
There's a lot goes into trying to do all that in 1996. So in that
Do we know
way,
what was the budget for this movie? Because it seems like it's pretty high.
$75 million, which for then is a lot.
Yeah.
And marketing, you usually double it. So like, but $75 million itself, you think in today's money for what they had to do for CGI for pretty famous actors and stuff.
I can't imagine animals are cheap too to do all of the training and stuff for that.
Yeah.
And you always have to
a
have
lot of
extra
work.
people on.
Yeah.
I wonder what like set was like with that many animals going on.
Yeah, I wonder how many they
So
had.
many
And like,
puppies.
Like you just go to your
peeing
trailer
everywhere.
and all you hear is just barking all the time.
yeah, that's why I wonder what's real and how many times they really had all those dogs. But there are some shots where it's clearly multiple real dogs, which
Yeah.
had to be. So, and if they're young, that's a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
Talk
Like
about
101, I think. At least.
I don't think they ever had 101 real dogs together. Okay, I'm gonna guess. First of all, riding on a bike with a dog also running with you sounds extremely difficult.
Oh yeah. No, I totally thought that. I was like, that guy's getting fucked up. I'd have 3 broken arms at that point already. Like,
And I was like, London is a hard city to have a dog in. Like, for sure. Like, no matter what you live in, like, that's just a difficult place. So to think you could have, I get they get the estate at the end because that video game hits big. But the little house with 15, I was like, no.
I was gonna say, can we talk logistics for a bit and how this movie doesn't give a fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Like, holy cow, that Rush relationship at the beginning is like,
Will you marriage me?
Off.
Would you like some marriage?
yeah, it's like so off-putting at the beginning, and I like how immediately like from the first moment she is like, I have got. I mean, when you're watching it live action, it's different from the movie. I mean, the cartoon. The whole time I was just thinking like, okay, if we're in like the real world, this dog really just. Its hormones are going crazy, and it just is like, I have to mate with this dog, and it's like that's the whole driving force for this movie. But then the humans are
We
right
don't want to
on
separate
par.
the
Like,
dogs.
I mean,
It's
that's
on brand for Disney. You know, love at first sight, marriage the next day.
true.
and
yeah,
he's just like
yeah.
a sarcastic asshole, and she is eating it up, and I'm like, man, I would have done well in London.
That's what I'm hoping. She hits
Thanks
him in the
for
face with the
assaulting
bag
me.
right away.
Yeah.
Like she's pissed, and then it so quickly goes like, well, if these dogs can't be, they couldn't have been like, well, let's have a doggy dates a couple times a week, and we'll date, and maybe we'll go somewhere. Nope, we got to get married now.
Well, I want to talk about the thing that I was reminded of by your summary, which is like when they kiss and they're just pants hanging by the fire, they just light on fire as it crossfades into the next scene. And I was like,
Hope our heroes
What?
survive.
like, why? Is it just like, it's just like, and yet it got hot. So hot. Like, what is that? I didn't, like, I was so astounded by it, and then there was still an hour left of astounding things to happen. So I forgot about it until you mentioned it, but that might be, like, one of the most just, I still don't know, like, how to react to it or what the entire point of it like,
That's how
other
you
than
know you've
just,
never
like,
been in love, Tyler. Because if you had, when you kiss, real heat emits.
from down there.
Yeah, but also from any source of heat around you. Like if there was a tea kettle
That's
in
why
your
you have
kitchen,
to take all your clothes off.
yeah. You should. The first time you made out with your future wife and the tea kettle did not start buzzing.
So
you
it's
should
like
have
when
known.
So it's like when I'm
buzz.
playing my PlayStation and I have to remove all my clothes
Yeah.
because it's just getting too hot.
Your
I'm hearing
relationship
the
with your
pause menu
PlayStation
took me
is
off.
far too intimate.
Get this off.
PlayStation VR has gotten far too.
Where's
real.
that real big fish song? I'm ready now.
Oh boy.
Uh,
Well, so let's talk about Glenn Close real quick.
Please.
The other actress in consideration
Chill
for
out.
this was Sigourney Weaver, which probably goes fine, but it's different.
Very different, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Glenn Close. I'm trying to look at her filmography right now. What's your favorite Glenn Close performance?
What was the one she was in a couple years ago? That's like one of the only Glenn Close
The
movies
one where
I think
she
I've
like plays
seen.
the terrible singer?
No. She's like a politician's wife. Watch, it's gonna be called The Politician's Wife.
Let's see. I feel like she's most known for Fatal Attraction, Dangerous Liaisons, Hamlet, Hook,
Hook, I forgot about Hook.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah,
Air Force
I mean,
One.
she's a very small part in
Yeah.
Hook,
Who's she?
but notable. She's the person that gets put in the boo box.
Is she?
Yeah.
You're kidding
Yeah,
me.
No, it's
That's
like a really
my
random
most-
piece of
The
trivia.
most
Yeah.
bizarre thing.
I'm gonna go watch that movie.
Yeah.
That scarring scene. Holy shit.
I remember thinking Glenn Close was really famous, and I'm looking, I'm like, was she though?
Okay, The Wife. It's called The Wife. It's really close. But she's
Oh, yeah.
really great in that movie.
That's
Fantastic.
that movie that she got nominated for, and everyone
Yes.
was like, you could not find that movie in America for a really long time. Like, there was just no way to see it.
Excuse me, the United States, Mitchell.
I also
Nope, literally from the bottom of Chile to the top of Canada, all in the
I
middle.
have it on
and
good
the
authority that it
Caribbean
was
islands.
huge in Ecuador.
Oh. I forgot about Ecuador.
she was
Argentina, too.
I did just remember she's in an Amazon
Competition.
adaptation of a short story called Sea Oak. That where she plays the reanimated corpse of a family's grandmother who comes back to tell them all what failures they are, and
I like
she's
that.
very good in that. And that's a great short story, and everyone should read it. George
She
Saunders.
was in
That's his
Damages,
name.
which I think
I
was
wrote that.
a
Oh
nice
yeah,
long-running
I feel like
show.
Damages was pretty well thought of too.
Her and Cheers. Dead Hansen.
Yeah, I thought you were saying she was in Cheers and she was Ted Danson.
She played Ted Danson when he left. That's a lot of people don't know when Shelley Long leaves Cheers. So does Ted Danson, but Glenn Close.
Yeah,
They look-
Glenn Close and Kirstie Alley's chemistry. Mwah.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
You would've-
Perfect.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, maybe I should have looked that up beforehand because just way less interesting of a career than I thought. Sorry, Glenn.
And it's I mean, I will say, and because of this movie came out when we were kids,
Yeah.
when I think of Glenn Close, the first thing I think about is
I do
probably
too.
101 Dalmatians.
Which, like we said, her commitment to the character actually is impressive. Like she is,
She's great.
as cartoonish as it is, she's great as this villain. I
She's
really
got
thought
the
she would rip a
perfect
dog apart.
Look for I think Glenn Close has like a really distinctive look, and it works perfectly for this character. Like,
Which is like the opposite of Emma Stone, so it's really weird that
True,
like,
yeah.
they picked her.
Emma can do anything. Okay, I'm up and down on her, but mostly.
Yeah, which I'm surprised you haven't seen more Glenn Close, considering your taste, you know?
Okay, Helen Mirren and Glenn Close are nothing like each other.
Okay, but growing up, I literally was like old white ladies. This is
I
like,
got her
there.
confused with. We said this last week. The greatest actress of all time, whose name I can't
Helen
remember.
Mirren.
No, the one in Julie and Julia.
Oh, Amy Adams.
You love Amy Adams.
No, you're talking about the Prada wearing devil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that was.
Meryl Streep.
There were some connections between these. How many people are so mad at me? Because, like, one, you couldn't remember Meryl Streep's name. Two, the movie you named was Julie and Julia of all of her famous movies. Oh. Meryl, you're great.
When I have to pick my favorite Meryl Streep movie, it's a real Sophie's Choice. You know what I mean?
I had a couple puns in the summary that I was just like, these are probably embarrassing, but I'm just going to put them in there, and you're helping me look better
Good,
right now.
good. That's my job. That's my job on the podcast. Remember?
What was the pun that you really liked from the movie, Gwen?
I
Didn't you?
can't remember, but I appreciated it.
Yeah. Oh well. Sorry.
Justin, as a dog owner,
Yeah.
recently raising a puppy, how would you feel about 100 more?
No.
Could
What about only
could Gwen
14
talk
more?
you into
So
taking on?
I
would
Google-
be taking the children and leaving. If
90.
there were $100 in my house.
a week ago, Journey was really sick, and I Google searched, "Is it normal to hate my puppy?" At one point.
You didn't tell me that.
I was just like, it was a little borderline. Like, I'm so tired of cleaning up diarrhea everywhere and having to take her out 8 times between the hours of midnight and 6 in the morning and not getting any sleep. And it was like, this is really hard right now. So yeah,
Fair enough.
that's what I looked up. And it was, yes, it's normal. Okay.
growing pains.
Yeah, like when they decide to just take all of them, I'm like, and they're like, yeah, just come on to our apartment. I'm like, holy shit. I was having like a panic attack as just a parent of one child. I was like, this can't be happening. Like,
The 15 of them are like, we don't know what we're going to do with them yet. No, you're going to sell them all.
She offered him, what was it, like,
$7,500, I think.
that's, for dogs these days, that's not a lot.
For 15 puppies, no, they'd make bank on purebred Dalmatians.
Yeah.
that would be a lot. and then somehow they have enough money for a mansion in the country, custom paint job.
Well, even with that mansion, I wonder when we're going to get the 101 Dalmatians Hoarders episode.
Yes. I could, as the camera was panning out, I could smell the area. And I did not like it.
And they're like talking, and then they're like, oh yeah, the babies are having babies, and it's only been a year, but holy shit.
They're like they're at the table shoving down their panic.
No matter
Everything's fine.
how clean
Everything's
you are,
fine.
no matter how much like you just can't have that many animals and not have it be bad smelling. Like
Yeah.
no matter what you do,
Impossible.
and it becomes a full-time. You gotta have a full-time person just cleaning them and cleaning up after them and
Thank
cleaning up their
heavens they have
poop.
Nana who does that.
I know. Yeah.
You change their diet, and then they have diarrhea, and you have to stay up all night with them.
Oh my gosh.
101 diarrhea Dalmatians.
They have it
You would
on
die.
rotation.
Like, you would die from, like, methane or something, right?
think
Like, there's
how,
enough
like-
just fucking shit.
You would
So
need a
the-
silo of dog food. Like, you would need so much.
And they've all got, like serial number. What do I?
Chips?
I want to say zip
Collars?
codes, but it's not. What's the fucking thing that you
Chips?
scan? Why am I
Barcode.
A barcode?
barcode? They all okay. Let's go back. Cut that out. Cut that out and like redo this.
Like a cow tag?
And they all have like barcodes on their collars that they have to scan in, so it's like all rationed out and. Fuck, that was not worth it.
Dalmatian communist compound. Oh man.
Okay.
Poor dogs. Yeah, did you guys have any other thoughts on 101 Dalmatians?
How about that molasses in a barn,
Yeah, why is molasses
uncovered?
Yeah. Doesn't seem like proper care for molasses.
It's just convenient for the hijinks
It's like
of
when they put
herb
cheese
use.
in caves. They got to put molasses in the shit-filled air
Uh-huh.
because it helps fertilize the sugars.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I've been trying to cut out all unfertilized sugars from my diet, and it's harder than you might think.
That sounds legitimate.
Decent depiction of London. They got a lot of landmarks in there to make it look good.
True.
Their house is definitely in an area where there's no residences across from Big Ben and everything. But what a fascinating little tale.
Yeah.
I appreciated when the dogs were barking at each other and communicating, and then it just cuts to very clearly like stock flyover footage of London. Cool, guys.
Throw it in there. Get the drone footage. All right, let's just end the pain there. Thanks for choosing that movie, Tyler. And thanks to the guy with the thanks.
I would like now that we're on the other side of it, was it worth the joke? Like I feel like last week I was real stoked on that joke, but even just like telling you guys about it kind of satisfied me enough that I feel bad that we watched this.
I'm not mad that we watched it, but I'm realistically surprised that we landed on it and actually went through with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least next week will be a little better because we finally accomplished the goal that we set out when we started this, which was to connect SLC Punk to 101 Dalmatians.
True. That was our goal.
We
all
did
along.
it.
We actually edited it out of that episode. So you may not remember that was our goal.
How did you edit that into this episode while we're making it?
I know. I'm shocked. But yeah, we made it. But we're going to do something a little bit different for our next few episodes. With our centennial episode coming up, we're going to build up with some of our more glaring omissions. So each of us is going to choose a movie we've always thought, how have I not seen that? I need to watch that. I want to watch that. And I just somehow have never made time to watch that. So Tyler McKinley is going to go first. What are we going to watch next week, Tyler?
Well, the choice is between Schindler's List and Die Hard, which... Never mind, I'm not going to make that joke.
There's a lot of dying. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And yeah, after talking with the table at the beginning, we all decided we didn't want to be bummed out. So I'm going to watch it this week by myself, and then we're all going to watch Die Hard together. Well, you know what I mean. And then we're going to talk about Die Hard next week.
And I would like to apologize that we're not saving Die Hard for Christmas and apologize to my ancestors that we are not approaching the Schindler's List as we should. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back with some recommendations for you. Welcome back to the Rewatchers on the Pod. Now that we have sadly stopped talking about 101 Dalmatians, we're going to give you a bunch of other stuff we watched this week, or read, or listened to, or played, and you can listen to it and be like, I should do what they did. You know, it's going to be great. Tyler McKinley, why don't you start us off?
Tony Hawk. I've just been playing Tony Hawk. That's all I've been doing is playing Tony Hawk. Like, my son is so obsessed with Tony Hawk right now that I literally can't find time for anything else, because all my free time is I come home from work and he's like, Dad, come skateboard with me. Then we're gonna play Tony Hawk, and that's all I do. And yeah, but thankfully it's really great. I blew through it really quick. Like, I beat both games because it's like the remastered of the first two games, and I beat them in less than 24 hours. And but man, is it a lot of fun. It's just really cool. And like, some of the updates to the levels are like really cool. Venice Beach is pretty awesome in that game. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing more I can say about it other than it's a really great arcadey skateboard game. And if that even sounds slightly appealing to you, even without the nostalgia, do it.
When was the last good Tony Hawk game?
Well,
3 maybe.
The problem is I haven't played any of them recently enough, because I played them when they came out and I loved every single one that I played.
Mm-hmm.
Including all of the Underground games.
So I played Underground 2. Was Underground 2 the one with Bam Margera
Yes,
versus
it was.
Tony Hawk?
I think, yeah.
I loved it when it came out.
So did I.
I never played any of those, so I don't.
When you get to Spain, you get to play as Steve-O riding a mechanical bull that is on wheels. That you just so it's awful, but
One of the
great.
secret characters is Phil in his underwear. So
Yeah.
like,
There's a secret area that you go into and find Star Wars Kid just doing his thing, which is great.
I played Project 8. Was probably the most recent one I played.
That's more
other than
recent
that.
than I've played. Yeah.
And I didn't get all the way through it. It was cool, but it was also like, it was trying to be Tony Hawk, but also do what Skate was doing at the time.
Oh, interesting.
And like, it just, which I never beat Skate either, because Skate is way harder than Tony Hawk.
Yeah. Cool.
That's all I got.
Gwen.
All right. So pretty much everything I watched this week made me angry or sad. So I'm just going to talk about I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. And it was Dexter meets Supernatural, and it was entertaining page turner. I kind of wish he would have leaned a little harder into the mystery of who the serial killer was, instead of, like, it was like in the first 3 pages, he was like, oh, and the claw marks were from the demon, but we didn't know it at the time. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But I mean, it was entertaining. I might read the next one if I need a palate cleanser at some point.
Has that been adapted into a movie?
I do not know.
Okay. I think there's a movie called that, but I don't remember it being Supernatural. Anyways, sorry, not to interrupt you.
Anyways, that was good. It was fun. I also read Blood on the Tracks Volume 1 by Shuzo Oshimi, which Truman gave me. It's a chapter 1 in a... Did we decide how mango was pronounced?
Mango, I think.
Mango.
We settled on.
Yeah, I can't really speak to it because it was just the first volume, but I texted Truman and said, that was really messed up, and then immediately, do you have the next one? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week.
What is that about? What is the setting like? Can you give any more details on it?
The protagonist is a kid in junior high, and his mother is very overprotective to the point of being kind of creepy about it. And the family goes on a trip together.
Cool.
Yeah.
So is it like a horror thing?
I think it's going to stray into horror. It hasn't quite yet, but I think it's more psychological right now. But yeah.
Sweet.
I do just want to call it. So, I Am Not a Serial Killer was adapted into a movie 4 years ago. And I just remember someone I know saying that it was really good, but then I never watched it. So,
Yeah, I don't feel the need to watch it.
sure. Anyways.
Justin.
One thing that I have been playing this week, I went back to Kerbal Space Program recently, which I don't think I've talked about on this podcast. But what Kerbal Space Program is it's kind of a simulator. I would call it a sim game, but it's for spaceships and airplanes and blowing shit up. Basically, you can play in like a sandbox mode where you can just kind of like build whatever you want and make really cool rocket ships and stuff. But I like having more constraints when I play video games usually, and so I like to do like the career mode, which you have to manage a space center, which is a lot of fun, and the physics in the game are very realistic. It's not exactly like real life, although you can get mods that make it so there's like a realism overhaul, which basically puts you on Earth, and then you have to build all of your rockets with Earth's physics, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's one of those games where you have to open the wiki as soon as you get into it if you want to ever like get anywhere with it. But I really dig that, and I've learned a lot about orbital mechanics from playing this game, which is pretty cool. And it's fun to play with my kids too, because they like seeing things blow up. And although they did get upset because it took me like 3 hours to get a plane off the ground because I don't know how to build airplanes. So,
What?
Yeah, it turns out it's pretty hard. Rockets are a lot easier when all you have to do is go straight up and then put a parachute on it so you don't blow up when you hit the ground. But planes are kind of tricky. So yeah, if you're into those kind of games, I would definitely recommend it. I love this game. I put over 150 hours into it since I got it. Like, I mean, I've had it for years, but and then the sequel is coming out in 2022, I think. I don't know if it's late 2021
for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's stuff about development too, like
'Cause they were
studio
bought,
issues.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
okay.
purchased by
2K or
2K,
something?
I think. Yep. It was they were a small Kerbal Space Program was an indie game when it came out, and it's been so successful. And yeah, so they got purchased by Take-Two, I think halfway or in the middle of developing the sequel to the game. And so there's all kinds of video game business stuff that's going on right now that a lot of people are worried about.
No, have a good villain.
Fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
What is
need
the
Kind of microtransactions can they put into a game like this? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is the appeal for a gamer to play the sequel as opposed to just playing the original?
Updated graphics is a big thing. Like having, if you're somebody who doesn't do mods, having all of that stuff added to the game, like having new engines, new worlds, new abilities that you can do. It's just building on. It's iterating on the first one and making it bigger, better, cooler, more fun, maybe.
More math.
Yeah, yeah,
They have to put in all the new math we've come up with.
yeah.
But 2K is gonna make it like math DLCs.
For $20, you get algebra.
God, I told myself I would never give algebra any more money.
Yeah. That's it for me this week.
Tyler Harris.
Okay, I have a few things. The first couple things I want to recommend are albums I've been listening to that I just have been listening to on repeat basically for the last 3 months, but didn't realize until like a few days ago, like, holy shit, I've been listening to these albums a lot. The first one is a really old album, but it's by a band called the Go Team, and the album is called Thunder Lightning Strike. And Go Team is basically like if a box of Crayola crayons started an electronic band. It's cotton candy for your ears in a way that just, I don't know, makes you want to go start a dance crew, which if you know me, that is the last thing on my list of things I'm going to do on a
we get to watch
Tuesday.
Step Up 4.
No, it does not.
Means we're gonna make Step Up 4.
Yeah. But they're really great. A lot of like sampling and weird shit, but it's just like, it's sunshine. It's fucking almost too much. But it's very good, and I've been listening to it a lot lately. The other one is almost the polar opposite of that. It is I'll call it a country album by a man named Orville Peck. And since I'm into like analogies or whatever the fuck I'm doing, what am I doing, Gwen? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous to like say the wrong thing. Anyways, it's basically like if Johnny Cash wrote a Father John Misty album. And it's
Sounds good.
it's this man who he wears a mask. He wears this black leather mask that has fringe that comes down.
Oh, I've
Have you
seen
seen that
him,
picture?
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I started listening to that album, and I was kind of expecting it to be a little more subversive, I guess, but it is just some straight up sad ass country songs, and his voice is really incredible, and for some reason I'm really digging that album. And he just released a new EP, but his first album is called Pony, and I really love it. The other things, I watched 2 things this week that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, and we will probably talk about more later, but I finally watched the HBO series Watchmen, and I loved it. I'm not going to say a longtime fan, but I read Watchmen in high school and really loved it. And man, when that movie came out, I had a really memorable experience of getting Arby's roast burgers and then going and seeing Watchmen and having a very odd experience watching that movie.
Can we talk about that day for a second?
Sure. What else? Yeah. What?
You're missing the part that I remember.
Is it when we talk to your parents afterwards? Okay. I didn't want to bring that up, but yes, let's talk about it.
My parents were in denial that I watched R-rated movies. I've had the same conversation with my mom about 600 times. She's like, "You watch R-rated movies?" And so yeah, me, Tyler, and David went to see it. Went back to my house. My parents came back, and I can't remember if they asked what we did. Somehow it got brought up that we saw a movie, and then my mom said we saw like. She's like, "What movie did you guys see?" And immediately my brain just like Scott Pilgrim, like conversation spin wheel starts going around. And I'm like, and I'm like, what else is out right now? Tale of Despero? There's no way I can fucking say we saw Tale of Despero. So I'm like, I'm just going to be a good person. I'm going to be honest. And I said, we saw Watch. My mom was like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, sweet. And then my dad was like, wait, isn't that rated R? I was like, anyway, we gotta go.
Were you 17 at the time?
How old were we?
I'm
We were
sure,
17,
yeah.
I think.
I don't remember when it came out.
I'm sure we were, because
We might have been.
I'd have been too
No,
nervous.
yeah, we were 17.
Yeah.
It's just a little superhero movie. No big deal.
Just a little superhero, man.
Not much about it. It's a little dark, you know.
But yeah, like, fucking this Watchmen series
I'm so glad you like it.
kicks ass. Man, we're gonna talk a lot about it. There's a lot to talk about. There's bad stuff about it too that I'm excited to talk about, just because there's so much to talk about. That's what I love about it. It's so meaty. Anyways, but then after that, I was like, I guess I'm gonna watch Watchmen again, and I was like, I should watch something else. I'm like, Damon Lindelof also made Leftovers, which you've been meaning to watch. So I watched 14 episodes of The Leftovers, and I might like The Leftovers even more than Watchmen. It's so good. I would say we've talked a lot about Lost. I know there are people that love Lost. I like Lost. I just never. I'm gonna have a hard time returning to an hour-long drama that is. How many episodes are there?
Like, no, I just made that
it's
up.
But
it's
ton,
a lot.
though, yeah. I'm gonna have a hard time ever watching all of those again. And so The Leftovers is great. It's 28 episodes and has a lot of the same flavors as Lost, but also because it's HBO, I feel like they're allowed to explore those things in some more like visceral and real ways that I think do some of those existential questions a lot more justice. And I'm having a great time. The performances are incredible. And yeah, I definitely recommend The Leftovers. Because I think especially if you are like into prestige TV and like that stuff, you've probably heard about it. If you haven't watched it, give it a shot. It's really great. So, but that's it. That's all I have.
Cool. I'm going to do a couple right here, and I'll do them in ascending order. So the first one, I'm just going to tell you the premise of the movie and tell you that I enjoyed it. It's called Love Guaranteed. And it's about a man who is suing a website called Love Guaranteed because he goes on 1,000 dates and does not find love. And within their fine print, that is the guarantee. Is that within 1,000 dates you will find love.
Isn't this an episode of How I Met Your Mother?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure
but
Ted Mosby gets mad at some online dating company at
he
some
really
point.
does.
Yeah.
So this is David Wayans Jr., like a really good comedic actor in this Netflix movie. And he has a lawyer who is anti-love because she's so busy being a pro bono lawyer.
Okay.
And he has a heart of gold. And she defends him in this case against the website Love Guaranteed. It was fantastic. Rachel Lee Cook plays the lawyer. It really straddled the line between, well, this is like a Netflix rom-com and like, how is this not on Lifetime? It was that bad. All right. Anyway, slightly better and way more interesting to me is one called Class Action Park. This is about an amusement park that was in New Jersey in the 80s and 90s called Action Park. And it was owned by some of the resorts out there. So pretty much it was a ski resort, and they converted it into like a water/adventure park. And there were just no rules. So you know how when you go to a water park, they're like one at a time, face forward, arms crossed, feet down. You can't have two slides. I've always wanted to be like, let us go down however the hell we want. This does that, but then it takes it to the extreme where it puts you on rides that engineers have never created or looked at. No one's ever approved them for safety. Like they have a full loop slide where people just straight up busted out their front teeth by flying down and around, and they kept having to make it steeper so that smaller people could make it all the way around. And they just have like rope swings into like just no big deal. Like there's just no rules. Yeah. And it's all run by teenagers who are getting drunk every night. And I think Johnny Knoxville made like kind of a movie about this. I didn't see it. I would almost like to see the Adventureland level take on this, where it's like a kid like working here at his New Jersey summers. And it's a very interesting people who comment on it. A lot of people who work there, they got a surprising amount. It's like almost Tiger King level of people who like knew that something horrible was happening because several people died at this park, but they were still like, the adventure of it is worth it. And that's kind of how the movie goes. It goes down, it presents you kind of like attraction by attraction and what could go wrong. And it deepens the story of the founder. And it kind of gets to the point where it condemns it for being way too reckless and a lot of people dying and them kind of getting away with it because of the connections of this rich guy who owned it. And then at the end, it kind of does a turn that's like, but the spirit of the freedom and the fun of it was worth it.
Wait, is this a documentary?
It's a documentary. Okay. It's on HBO Max. It's only like 90 minutes. And I think it is really interesting. And I am also someone who just like likes that kind of stuff.
Can I hijack your recommendation? Do it. Because I wanted to talk about this. I just got HBO Max because we realized that we have the HBO add-on on Hulu.
Yeah.
Which means that you just have HBO Max, but
yes,
you have to create like
had
its
HBO
own,
other than your cable add-on is now HBO Max.
Which it was such a confusing thing. I remember when it came out, I was like, I'm not going to deal with this until... And I wanted to watch something, and I went to make a thing, and I was already logged into Hulu, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just get it. Anyways... One of the things I love about that, they have a bunch of Cartoon Network shows that have been notoriously hard to find on streaming. But I've watched a lot of Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, which I love. And also they have like all of Regular Show and Steven Universe on there. And those are fantastic. And it's great if you are interested in watching those. It's so good.
HBO Max, I mean, first of all, it has everything HBO, period, ever. And then it has a great piece of Warner's library. And it actually has like a Criterion collection to rival the Criterion Channel. Like it actually has an really incredible classic movie thing, which I'm like, that's on my long-term to-do list, is to watch the classics I should have watched. But it's definitely worth it, especially because it's the same price that HBO was, and I was already subscribed to HBO, so it's worth it. You know, are you still using your ex-brother-in-law's HBO password? Because it probably still works.
No.
You used that for the first few years I knew you.
I wasn't watching a lot of HBO, so it's just like, you know,
I'm not sure. When we started Thrones, you still had it.
I don't think so.
No?
At that point.
Okay.
No, I didn't have it that long, unfortunately. But yeah.
Anyway, the thing I saw this week that I'm most excited about is Tenet. So Tenet is like a big deal because it's the first major movie to come back. I guess you could kind of say Mulan was. But Tenet's the first one that's theaters only. You can't do it on VOD. It's by Christopher Nolan, and it's been hotly anticipated. It's oh my gosh, what is his name? Denzel Jr.'s son. And Robert Pattinson.
I'm pretty sure his name is Denzel.
No, he's a really good actor on his own, so I feel bad calling him that. But anyway, it is, so sorry, bud. But the complaints about this movie has been, one, it's been confusing, like Inception and Interstellar. I had no problem with it.
I hate that that's a complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sequel, like, I think that the filmmaking and the ride are so worth some of the elements of like the more supernatural things or the more sci-fi things that are harder to grip. It's 1,000% worth it. And if people didn't I'm not smart, okay? But I totally understood the broad plot. I understood the character development. So while, yeah, there's mechanics that you may not get in sequences that you kind of have to take the overall result of, I think it was great. A lot of people also said they couldn't understand the dialogue. I had zero problem understanding the dialogue. So I'm kind of just annoyed with it's actually doing well, like critics wise, but a lot of people who just talk about movies, it's not being spoken about that well. It's made $150 million worldwide during this pandemic, which is kind of amazing, with theaters only being able to open up half full in almost every country. And I just highly recommend it. I think the performances are good. I think it's fun. And like, there are things, whether you don't like Inception or Interstellar, that you know Christopher Nolan does well. Like, it sounds incredible. It looks incredible. And the ideas in it, sometimes maybe they overshadow the characters, but I think that they are so interesting. And there's some plot mechanics that, like, maybe it's not for all people, but man, did I think it was a big movie that is completely original, which is underrated. It's not from any sort of IP, and I really liked it. I might go see it again.
Cool.
But yeah, did anyone else have any final thoughts on recommendations or 101 Dalmatians? All right, gear up. We're going to watch Die Hard next week. Who's seen Die Hard here?
Me? I think I'm the only one to, because this has been. I mean, this is a big. I feel like this is a big level up for our podcast. We're finally all going to be on the same time.
Well, we've talked about this movie on the podcast several times. It's an important movie. And it is on HBO Max. Yeah. So,
and because of that, I expect all of you to hate it for sure. I think it's going to be a terrible experience for all of you. Because
I like some bad Bruce Willis movies, so I think I'm in on him as an action star.
Okay, good.
I mean, Bruce Willis is pretty watchable when he's just fucking shit up.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he does that in this. His marriage, his
when he's got those two submachine guns and Looper. I mean,
yeah, that's good shit.
Wonderful.
You can't go wrong. All right, cool. Well, we're excited to see Die Hard next week. This has been the Rewatchers on the Pod. I'm Mitchell Marshall, hosting along with
Gwen Hammer,
Tyler Harris,
Justin Hammer,
Tyler McKinley.
Have a wonderful day.
Because
something.
you said that on this episode, I feel like the general sentiment at the end of every other episode is go fuck yourself. I don't know why, but it's just like,
I hope today is
so
okay.
different.